David. Thank you, Mike. And thank you all for having us here to present. I'm very excited and very honoured to be presenting on such an insightful and important topic for us all today. As David mentioned, my name is Doug Robinson. I'm also the Deputy Chairman of the Asian Racing Federation's Anti-Illegal Council. As Mike and many others have flagged up throughout this conference so far, the threat of illegal betting and related financial crime risk comes to be one of the most significant challenges that we face today and looking forward. The Council was created to better understand that threat, as well as to help others understand the size and scale of this unregulated market, as well as the negative impacts that it has on sports, as well as wider society. I'd like to take this quick opportunity over the next 10 minutes or so to update you on the work that the Council has done and round out with some thoughts on how we can all look to tackle the many issues that it creates. As has been mentioned throughout the conference, illegal betting markets are complex in their nature and by their very nature difficult to detect. In order to unpack these issues, the Council has evolved over time to become a think tank and now comprises more than 20 individuals spread across the world and with diverse backgrounds, including representatives from racing, sports integrity, law enforcement, the UN, as well as academia. The Council's purpose is to provide thought leadership reports and content on illegal betting markets, size and scale, how they operate, their negative social impact on stakeholders and wider society, and also to work alongside such stakeholders, whether they be racing organisations, regulators, governments, or complementary businesses and industries, to raise awareness of these issues, of these illegal betting issues, and also encourage them, these stakeholders, to take action to tackle this issue, this problem. The Council and the ARF is now increasingly recognised as a global thought leader on the issue of illegal betting, and which continues to project racing as a sport with the highest standards of integrity. Since the last Asian Racing Conference, the Council has expanded greatly in expertise, impact, and engagement. It now has 21 Council members spread across 4 continents, with an additional 3 members, as Andrew mentioned earlier, recently having been endorsed to join the Council. The growing depth and breadth of the Council truly is its greatest asset, making its publications, including the Council flagship State of Illegal Betting report, and world-class. And I'll talk a little bit about the main findings from that report later on. Readership of the Council's bulletins, launched after the last Asian Racing Conference, has also grown steadily over time and now reaches a variety of readers in all racing jurisdictions. For those of you who have not had a chance to catch up on these bulletins, a compendium of them has been published, and some copies are available for you on the table over to the left as you head out for lunch. Or they can be downloaded, this compendium can be downloaded from the ARS website. Finally, the Council has been highly visible in raising awareness on illegal betting issues and engaging with these stakeholders, both formally and informally across the globe, with a wide variety of organisations and businesses, ranging from sports betting data companies to Magic Circle law firms. The Council's flagship report, the State of Illegal Betting report, which was released last year, informs stakeholders of what illegal betting is, how it works, and why it is not, as many people seem to believe, a victimless crime. The main findings from the report, based around an analysis of over 500 betting websites, show that illegal betting markets continue to account for almost 2/3 of all online betting options available to customers and consumers, and that the bulk of these websites hold licenses to operate from just 3 jurisdictions. These licenses are unenforceable and therefore meaningless outside of those jurisdictions. And these offshore betting websites do much to blur the boundaries between legal and illegal or grey market offshore betting options for consumers as well as regulators, ultimately obfuscating what is legal and what is not to the consumer, putting them at risk. The report also found that illegal betting markets continued to grow faster than their legal counterparts, a point that continues to hold true since first flagged at both the 2018 and 2020 Asian Racing Conferences. And also that horse racing continues to be a key betting product on these websites, with illegal betting options being offered on ARF member horse races in 82% of those illegal betting websites examined. Last but not least, the report also examines new technologies and typologies, particularly white labeling, which is the provision of off-the-shelf betting websites and associated operations to criminals. Also looks into issues surrounding the proliferation of betting data, alongside many other expert commentaries on illegal betting. And some of these experts will be joining us later. Before we move on to that panel, however, I would just like to quickly take you through some of the main trends that the Council are seeing at the moment in relation to illegal betting, starting with the fact that the continued globalization of this illegal betting landscape, despite the pandemic, continues to be the number one threat to the integrity of racing for a number of reasons, as I'll go into on the next slide. At the risk of repeating myself from previous conferences, the Council continues to take the view that illegal betting is such a threat to racing, simply put, because it continues to be a massive market. And as Andrew and Winfried and Mike alluded to before, generating huge amounts of illegal and illicit capital on an annual basis. Illegal betting also acts as a gateway crime, facilitating whole hosts of other criminal activities to take place. And because of its extreme profitability and low detection rate, also acts as the primary method to fund transnational organized crime. Because it provides a mean to incentivize corruption in sport, illegal betting is also the chief factor in many, if not all, racing and other sports corruption cases. So it corrupts sports as well and is the primary factor there. Last but not least, the negative social impact of illegal betting is widespread, chiefly and most directly seen through the reduction in taxation revenues for government from legal operators, but also costly in other ways, such as creating gambling disorder at a much higher rate than legal counterparts, which itself leads to a whole host of other socially negative outcomes. And these illegal bookmakers have proven to be highly resilient and adaptive and flexible to law enforcement efforts to disrupt their operations, continuing to expand their scope and influence across the Asia-Pacific region, aided by their quick and rapid adoption of the latest and newest technologies, and also aided by rapid but uneven economic development across the region, coupled with a patchwork of regulatory regimes across Asia-Pacific, some effective, mostly not. This spread started with the liberalization of gambling in Macau in the early 2000s, which led to a boom of Chinese organized crime-linked junket operators who funneled vast profits both from online betting and other seemingly legitimate exercises. Jurisdictions in Asia, as well as globally, facilitated this spread by issuing these operators with so-called gambling licenses, which, despite their name, confer no legality nor regulatory oversight to these operations and have no extra jurisdictional weight. As regulators began to catch up with these operators and actions against them in certain countries began to bear fruit, these operators responded by simply moving their operations to other places where oversight was limited, creating a domino effect and ultimately globalizing this illegal betting problem. However, it's not all doom and gloom. Action can be taken to identify and disrupt such operators. And before I hand back to David for the panel discussion, I'd like to outline some of the steps that can be taken here. The Council's publication, which is entitled Good Practices in Addressing Illegal Betting, outlines 40 such practices for racing and other sports to adopt, both internally and when engaging with external parties or stakeholders. These 40 suggested practices revolve around building an internal understanding of this now globalized illegal betting landscape, developing in-house betting analysis and monitoring capabilities, something that Tom will talk about later, prioritizing and formalizing intelligence gathering processes, and integrating those capabilities within betting analysis programs, as well as implementing systems for whistleblowing and formal liaison with law enforcement and other authorities. If you're interested in reading more of these practices, they can be found again to download from the ARF website. And these practices are being updated as we speak to create a document which can be used by ARF members to effectively project these issues with relevant stakeholders. Which leads me nicely on to my next point, which is that in order to tackle illegal betting, racing needs to collaborate with external parties and stakeholders to make themselves aware of the issues, to make them aware of the issues, and drive them to take action themselves. Key stakeholders include police and security and integrity agencies, primarily to counter illegal betting activity itself and share intelligence. The media and academia to spread those messages and also to undertake and collaborate on research into these issues. Financial institutions to combat the money laundering side of illegal betting, as well as internet and technology companies to counter illegal betting websites, which is where the majority of this illegal betting takes place. And last but not least, government regulators of betting and sports to ensure that legislation and regulation are fit for purpose and suitable for all parties. One jurisdiction that is doing it right is Australia, in many ways taking the lead as a stakeholder model in combating illegal betting. Examples include effective and relevant betting legislation reinforced by a long-held tradition of widespread stakeholder engagement, leading and regularly updated academic research into gambling and other contextual issues around that, established and successful legal operators that collaborate on a regular and formal basis with racing and sports authorities and regulators, and financial institutions and communication authorities who proactively take direct action against illegal operators. All of which are underpinned by a strong culture of sport here in Australia, as well as a desire that that sport is not tainted by illegal betting operators and their associated corruptors. So while illegal betting continues to threaten the world of racing, as well as other sports, hopefully what we've been able to show over the past 10 minutes is that action can be taken against such these operators, although this action requires strong and effective stakeholder engagement. Thank you all for listening and for that quick update from the Council. And please scan the QR code to go to the ARF website in order to get access to those publications that I mentioned throughout that presentation. Thank you very much, and back to you, David.